Hey guys, this is Seagrove. Today I want to talk to you about the matchups for the NA LCS playoffs. Um, we got some pretty cool matchups going on. The first one is Team Impulse versus Gravity. Team Impulse and Gravity is a really hard game to call, I think, because Team Impulse is so explosive and they're often called a solo queue team because of the way they are really strong players, but they've had trouble meshing with three languages. Um, While Gravity seems to be a very united team, not as skilled individually on the whole, but a really good team. And I think this is going to come down to, as we get later in the best of five, is LS going to be able to help Gravity with their picks and bans to overcome Team Impulse? 'Cause I think Team Impulse will come out swinging really hard early, and then we'll see as it goes on late if Gravity's able to pull it around. If I had to guess, again, this one's really hard to call. I'd probably say it's going to be either 3-2 Gravity or 3-1 Impulse. I'm going to go with 3-1 Impulse because I just think Impulse is stronger. They've looked better in the second half of the split, going 7 wins and 2 losses, and Gravity's 5-4. So I'm going to go with Impulse, but it's going to be really close and pretty exciting best of 3, I think. On the other end of the bracket, we have CLG versus Team Liquid. CLG is kind of, I guess you could say they look shaky at the end. They had a pretty weak end to the split in their last 2 games, obviously, but overall they've looked really good. Kind of looked like TSM looked last season in that they've done really well against the lower level teams and then have struggled against the higher level teams. Um, but that said, I think they're going to beat Team Liquid. If you look at Team Liquid's record with Keith, it's 5-1, and then Piglet they're 5-8. And this is the crazy thing: Team Liquid has won 0 games against the other 5 teams in playoffs while using Piglet. They have not won 1 game against any of the top 5 teams with Piglet. That is ludicrous to me. That is crazy. So we're looking at, I think that's going to be CLG. Probably 3-1 would be my guess. But then we'll go into the next round. TSM versus Team Impulse or Gravity. Again, that's a really hard one to call. I said Team Impulse, so I'm going to stick with that. Whoever it is, I think TSM's going to 3-1 that. Team Impulse could win a game because they're so explosive and they think they're going to come out swinging again. And they might get a. They're pretty. I don't want to use the word inconsistent because it's thrown around so much, but they're pretty. They take a lot of risk, I think, and sometimes those risks will pay off. And so I think they'll take a game off of TSM that way. And Gravity, if Gravity does go, I think Gravity would take a game off of TSM just by being solid and keeping like a standard level of play. And then when TSM has a not as high skilled game, Gravity would take a win that way. But I do think it's going to be 3-1 TSM, and I'll say against Impulse because that's who I picked. Then you have Cloud9 versus CLG. Cloud9 is looking really good at the end of the split. I wouldn't say they're back 100%, but they are looking really good. Cloud9 should win, I think, against Counterlogic Gaming or Team Liquid. But if it's Counterlogic Gaming, I think it'll be a really good series. But Cloud9, I think Cloud9 will pull it out 3-1 or 3-2. I'm just going to say 3-1. But either way, I think Cloud9 will win. And then in the finals, we'll have TSM versus Cloud9. Cloud9 and TSM is the most likely, I think, but I could see TSM CLG as well. But anyways, unless whoever it is, if it's Cloud9 or CLG, unless CLG fixes their team fighting problems or Cloud9 really gets back up there, I think TSM will 3-1 whoever they play. TSM's just looking the strongest overall right now. They have really good shot calling, good team fighting, good early game. They're just playing really well. So, like I said, unless CLG fixes their their team fighting or Cloud9 really gets back to where they were. If you remember last week, they had that really big blunder at blue buff, so that just didn't look like Cloud9. I mean, on the whole it did, but there's still these really big issues. But anyways, we'll get to see. So those are my picks and my predictions.